Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing The Last Roman Abyss by B.K. Greenwood for a book tour. Eric from Breakeven Books has once again invited me for a book tour. A few months ago we did a book tour for the first book in the series, The Last Roman Exile, and we are back to review book 2. So I will link that first review, but getting right into it, I'm gonna read the synopsis for the book so you know what it's about. So this is of course the sequel for The Last Roman Exile, and the synopsis goes: Can all be forgiven? Marcus Cyprinus Gracchus, a soldier of Rome, has spent 2,000 years walking the earth seeking redemption he may never find. After losing his latest confrontation with Thomas, a man he once considered his brother, Marcus is on the run and must find new allies to continue the struggle. But will that be enough? As Marcus races across the globe to find the only weapon that can stop Thomas, his old nemesis will do anything to secure an ancient artifact that could destroy humanity. Follow the story of a man who should be dead as he tries to save the world and his soul. So yeah, that was the synopsis going into book 2. And then to share my thoughts on it, I thought this book was serving the drama right away. It introduced a dramatic new character right at the beginning, which unfortunately this character didn't end up playing as big of a role as I thought, so it was kind of anticlimactic. But at the beginning it was very dramatic. And then our main character Marcus had a nice heroic start to the book. The book was really laying down new mysteries, doing a great job of setting the stage for this second story. And then after those first few chapters, we got a little check-in with our villains, which was also good. There were some funny details in that part, like Satan loving football, which I thought was hilarious. And there was some nice backstory and character building for the villains, because obviously Satan only appeared at the very end of the last book, so we're kind of just getting to know him in this book. So the strings were coming together well, and it was a compelling beginning. The only thing I will say is some of the banter and just relationship in general between Satan and Thomas just felt kind of off, felt kind of odd. And that was kind of throughout, sometimes they'd get some really great, interesting development, but then other times, especially Satan's character, sometimes it would just, the characterization just didn't feel quite right. But overall, the beginning of this book felt a lot more cohesive than the first book. This one just had a really strong beginning. But then, towards the middle of the book, it started to fall into some of the same traps as the first book, in that the story takes place in a lot of different times, and sometimes chapters that took place in the far past didn't feel like they belonged, and I wasn't sure what the point was. Sometimes later in the book, something would happen that would kind of connect back to a chapter that had taken place in the far past, and I was like, oh, there's the connection. But other times, I don't feel like that happened. So again, just a little bit, some of the chapters that take place in the past feel unnecessary. And then also, so I mentioned a new dramatic character was introduced at the very beginning, and it was like a historical figure. And then halfway through the book, Rasputin, I don't mind giving that one away, was also introduced, and I don't know, there was just kind of a lot of historical figures being introduced, and I felt like I would have liked more focus on the first one that was introduced, which maybe he plays more of a role in the final book. But there were just times where it felt like too much happening at once. This one did make an interesting choice of having two separate MacGuffins. One that the good guys are trying to get their hands on, and one that the bad guys are trying to get their hands on. And so the good guys and the bad guys really don't interact at all throughout the book until the very end, because they're both chasing after different objects. So kind of a unique choice to have the good guys and the bad guys going after different objects. But also I felt like it just didn't really work out, because the whole point of having good guys and bad guys chasing down objects is so that then that'll force them to butt heads. And so there was just less tension this way, because there wasn't a lot of hero-villain interaction. So an interesting, bold choice, but one that I feel like didn't pay off very well. And then overall, and that might have been part of the problem, the action in this book didn't feel as exciting as in the first book. And overall, the middle of the book lagged a lot compared to the very exciting, interesting, well-constructed first half. And then the ending it wrapped up nicely, but there was a whole big middle section that dragged a bit, and a lot of places where I just wasn't getting the connection. And definitely in this one, the present day chapters stood out above the historical chapters throughout most of the book. But yeah, then like I said, it wrapped up nicely. It had a dramatic ending that did a really good job of kind of showing the difference between Thomas, who is our villain, although he used to be a good guy, and Marcus, who is our main character, and kind of showed how Thomas got to be a bad guy, and then just also how Thomas and Marcus make different choices and how that leads them on the paths that they're on. But yes, I did think that we'd be further on in the story than we were. This one was taken up very much by chasing down these objects that they need, and so I didn't feel like the story moved along that much. But I'm sure now in the final book is when our main character and our villains are really going to battle it out. So I am still excited for the third book, because I'm sure that one will just really be stuffed full of action, which our author has shown in the first book especially that he is very good at action. So yeah, that was my thoughts on The Last Roman Abyss. Thanks again to Eric from Breakeven Books for inviting me on this book tour. I'll link his channel down below. He'll have all the information on the rest of the book tour. I'm the last day of the tour, but I'm sure you can go back and find everyone else's posts about The Last Roman. But yeah, I hope you found this review helpful and that you enjoyed watching. Remember, words matter.